Hey guys, this is Should You or Should You, the show where we talk about books and whether or not you should read them. And this is a new series that I've started, and it centers around my obsession with books, collecting and reading, obviously. Just to give you a little background, I only got into this about 2 years ago. I mean, I've done all your standard assigned readings from middle school, high school, college, things like that. But I never did it as a hobby. I never did it as to analyze pieces of art. Not that this series is going to be an analyzation of art form and rhetoric and things like that. Just merely for other people who are new into reading or may not know where to start. This is going to be where you can go to kind of get a little nudge, right? So should I read this book? Should I start here? Should I start there? Wherever. A couple of my favorite authors are, Kurt Vonnegut, of course, Charles Bukowski, but I like a lot of newer authors such as Jeff Vandermeer, who does a lot of sci-fi. You may have heard of the Sutherland Reach trilogy, which is really awesome. Actually, Annihilation's coming out as a movie starring Natalie Portman very soon, within the next couple weeks. To Leila Slimani, who is a French author, recently just put out a book called The Perfect Nanny, which is a thrill ride of suspense. It is incredible, incredibly written, and just really kind of grabs you and doesn't let you unload your breath. It's really awesome. You should check it out. But this first episode is not going to be about either of those two authors yet. We'll probably get there eventually. It's going to be about the first book that I started when I kind of got into the hobby of collecting books. You guys are probably wondering, why would I collect books? Well, I get that. I mean, a lot of people, they love the accessibility of Kindles or, just your phone and being able to download books to that. And that's awesome. If that's how you choose to consume that, that's great for you. I know it's very convenient, but I love holding the piece of art. I love holding the physical copy. This is Thus Spoke Zarathustra by Nietzsche, which is not something that I would pick up for easy reading. But the point is, I love having the actual thing to hold on to. So I love first edition hardcovers. It's actually what I look for. So if you're a freak about that like I am, touche. It's not cheap, but it is really fulfilling to own. So this may not matter to those folks who choose to consume their media electronically, but I think it could, because you may not know whether or not to download that book or, to take your mom's recommendation on whatever to download. So hopefully you can find this useful. This first episode is about one of my favorite authors. I love his writing style. I love the way he uses words. He truly is an artist, very descriptive, really makes you feel something, which says a lot about an author's writing. I've read a few books by him at this point, and there are certain moments where I'm uncomfortable as a reader, and I think that's special to possess that type of superpower, right? And that first author is Haruki Murakami. It's one of his more recent books within the last 7 or 8 years, and it's called 1Q84. And it is a crazy, crazy, crazy story. One of those books where the whole time you're reading it, you're like, holy cow, what's happening? None of this makes sense, but I can kind of sense the theme going on here. And when you're finished with it, it is completely satisfying, but you have no idea where you are or how you got there. And I think that's pretty cool. Let me remove the Jess jacket for you guys. It is very thin, so I don't want to kind of ruin it. It's a beautiful book. It's a great cover. I love the spine, Q4. And if you're thinking to yourself, it looks a lot like 1984, well, you're not too far off. The book actually takes place in 1984, and it's been described by a lot of people as a dystopian, so similar to George Orwell's 1984. But it's got a lot of sci-fi elements. There's a lot of weirdness happening. Character development is great, and the story itself is awesome. I'll give you a little bit of insight into it because it was such a thrill. But a little bit about the author, Haruki Murakami, born in 1949, and I believe he resides in Tokyo. But he didn't always aspire to be an author, or at least I don't know that. I mean, I don't know him personally, so if you do, let me know. But he actually owned a restaurant with his wife, and I believe he was at a baseball game. And through a stroke of aha, he decided, I can do that. I think I can write something. His first novel was Hear the Wind Sing, and it's something that if you ask him about, he's probably going to be like, don't read that one, because it's not something that he considers his first real novel. I think Kafka on the Shore, or one of his earlier works, is what he considers his first novel. So there's a few years of practice being put into this beast. And it is a beast. It's 1,200 pages. This is a really interesting story. It centers around, two main protagonists, Tango and Aomame. Tango and they both know each other. They went to school way back in the day, but at first it's just a minor detail in the story, but it comes back full circle later on. Tango is a cram school teacher, mathematics, and one of those kids that one of those guys that when he was younger, he was really brilliant, like a prodigy, right? And I'm sure all of us kind of know that the kid in school who just was good at everything. He was an athlete, good looking, big and strong. But his biggest talent was mathematics. He was a prodigy, right? For whatever reason, didn't quite live up to that kind of potential. And I think it's something like a cloud that kind of hangs over him. And if you get into Murakami, you're going to notice that a lot of his writing is self-reflective. People finding themselves in ruts and kind of needing to figure out who they are again, or piece together different parts of their lives, whatever. He's an author, Tango is, and he submits a lot of stories to like really prestigious magazine publications, trying to get published, edited, whatever. And his editor picks up his stuff and he's like, dude, I love your writing. It's so good. I just don't dig your stories. And so he finds a story by this girl. Her name is Fuka Eri, and she's a huge part of this story. Very, very interesting girl. It's an incredible story about these little people, air chrysalises, magic, and these like little gods and whatever. And it's such a wild and crazy story that they're like, wow, how could this possibly have come from such a young talent? Tango, this is the kind of story that if you take it and you rewrite it, you could become famous. I mean, this could be your ticket. And so in secret, they kind of collude to rewrite this book of this girl's and put it out. They have no idea what they're doing or the repercussions that will take place. Tango and Fuka Eri actually kind of link up, and it's this huge story that links to this like religious commune. They used to be peaceful and somehow turned militant, and she may or may not be from there. That's a whole nother part of the story that I'm leaving out. The name 1Q84 though. The book starts with Aomame. I've already mentioned her. She's our other protagonist in the story. She is a total badass. I don't want to give too much away, but she's really highly trained in different pressure points. She's like a massage therapist, but she's way more than that. She's like physically elite, super fast, super strong, super smart. She's in a taxi cab on the way to a meeting. You don't know where she's going, but she's dressed like super business attire, like hoity-toity. She has to kind of blend in to wherever she's going. The freeway that she's on is completely backed up. She can't get anywhere, so she has to get out of the taxi cab and take these set of stairs that go down towards the streets below. But somewhere between that taxi cab and getting down to the streets, she enters this other dimension, this alternate reality, so to speak. Doesn't know it right away, and you don't really know it right away, but you can assume because of the name of the book. But she is transported to this alternate reality where everything's the same except for very small details, like the police uniforms are changed, guns that they're issued have changed, there are events that have happened that she doesn't remember, and it's driving her a little crazy. But the thing that really lets her know that she's in a different world is the fact that there are 2 moons hanging in the sky. That's how she knows that she's not crazy, that she's actually somewhere else. And that's all I'm going to really divulge about that part of the book. But all I can say is Tango, this mathematician author, Fuka Eri, this really strange, kind of otherworldly ball of talent, and Aomame, this skillful, trained, like assassin type, and this religious commune are all intertwined. There's a ripple that happens when they come out with this book, and it changes the face of the entire kind of galaxy of this universe that they created here. And I gotta say, and it's an incredible read. It's 1,200 pages, so it's hefty, but don't let that intimidate you. It's 3 books in one. So it kind of takes place over this different seasons of a year. And so if you need to read a book at a time and kind of back away from it, totally do that. There's no right or wrong way to read a book. It took me like 7 months to get through this thing just because I'm so scatterbrained. But it's one of the first books that I started when I started reading a lot, and it's something that I highly recommend. If you've been thinking about, should I read it, should I not, you definitely should. Whether you like dystopian, sci-fi, comedies, romance, novels, whatever it is, there's something to be had for everybody in this book. And it's an incredible journey. I highly recommend it. And I really hope that you guys have found this somewhat useful. It probably sounded very chaotic and disorganized, but that's because this book is so big and it's so hard to give you just like a little piece without giving you so much. But definitely check it out. I'm gonna try and get a video out for you guys every few days with a new book to check out, with a new book to read. And so if you have any recommendations for me to read, I would love that. I don't want to lead you guys to believe that I'm some librarian, rich Mongol that has 18 houses full of shelves that have just books on books on books on books on books. I still have to pay rent, so not yet. But I do have a ton of books, a ton of different authors, and so there's something that you're looking for, something that you need a recommendation on, let me know. Chances are I may have it, and if I don't, I will get it for you. I will read it, and I will let you know whether you should or shouldn't. That's all I have for you guys. This has been Should You or Should You? And of course you should. 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami. I'm your host, Mike Vaughan. It was a pleasure.